So Eternal Strands just came out, and by God, this game really surprised me. The too long didn't read is that this is a single player Monster Hunter Lite. You'll have your hub area where you can craft various gear from the materials that you'll obtain out in the environment, and the levels themselves which will have a random monster and a random world modifier. Like maybe it's a really hot day, so your ice magic's no good. Combat and character movement in particular are really cool in this game. You've got Breath of the Wild climbing and a combat system that's kind of Souls-like, but not really. Fighting against basic enemies is as basic as it gets. You hit them, you block or dodge roll. But you also have all of these different spells that you can utilize to take advantage of a situation, either by setting the grass on fire or using gravity magic to literally pick them up and throw them off a cliff. But the big showpiece is going to end up being the main bosses of the game. These are these giant monsters that you can climb on and use all of your magic on as well. The ice magic is particularly impressive because you can freeze the various joints on a creature with dynamic animation playing out very realistically. There is a quest system in the game, and the main quest is pretty bad. It's very fetch questy. Usually it's tasking you with fighting a specific enemy or going to a specific spot, but in order to be strong enough to progress further on into the game, you're gonna have to get involved with the crafting. While you're exploring, you'll notice on your map that there are various blueprints for weapons and armor that you can get. These pieces of gear aren't necessarily an immediate upgrade for you, because the crafting system, though very confusing at first, is actually really open-ended. Let's say, for example, you end up crafting a piece of armor. Based on the various materials that you use to craft the armor, it'll end up having various resistances. But you can swap those materials out anytime that you want and get all your old materials back, and you can also upgrade your gear, which will make it cost more of the said materials. This is how the game, in a way, forces you to keep grinding enemies and bosses. But keep in mind that as you progress through the game and continually fight these enemies, you're basically adding more materials to your bank. By the end of the game, you should have enough materials to upgrade your armor and weapons to maximum. This is why when you die in the game, you'll end up losing all the materials that you collected on that run. But what kind of keeps your materials in check is that you can salvage your materials to get various other resources to upgrade your camp. This will allow you to upgrade your armor further and even upgrade your spells. Once you do end up unlocking all of the spells, in order to upgrade them, you'll have to defeat bosses with very specific parameters. Like if you're fighting a dragon, you'll have to break off his horns, break one of his wings, and then suck out his soul while he's flying in the air. While a lot of the blueprints you can find in the world aren't particularly impactful, some of them are game-changing. Like I found this great sword that allowed me to just launch myself up into the air, and I never swapped off of it through the entire game. And eventually I unlocked this air dash ability, which I could combine with my uppercut. As to whether or not I would recommend it, yes, I would. It is a single player game, it is a one and done, but it was a really fun game that I played for around 13 to 14 hours, and it does have a pretty cool end game. See, once you end up beating the final boss, that boss is then thrown into the random monster rotation. So if you're a completionist and you want to end up unlocking all the blueprints or crafting every piece of armor or upgrading all of your spells, then you could probably get a significant amount of playtime out of this game. I will say that the game is particularly easy. I only died maybe 1 or 2 times, and most of all it was because of environmental issues, like going out of bounds without realizing I was going out of bounds. It can also be frustratingly clunky. Because of the huge emphasis on physics and momentum, it means that a lot of things can go wrong and will go wrong. I'll also say that the reason I'm not talking about the story in this game is it's incredibly forgettable and generic. It also oddly felt very low budget, with these 2 character portraits talking back and forth. But thank God I was able to just skip through it all. Despite these complaints, I can still appreciate the ambition of Eternal Strands, and I had a blast playing through it.